All right, good morning. How you doing this morning, Cameroon?
I'm good. We had a little bit of weather in my neck of the woods, so I got to shower by candlelight this morning with lukewarm water.
But you got to shower.
Oh, please believe, I woke up this morning. I'm not pushing up daisies. It's already a good
Exactly. And for the rest of you who made it to the right side of the dirt this morning, it is Friday. You made it through the week. And, well, that's a win.
Yeah, look, I love Firearms Friday. I'm going to get to the part with the Rudy Tooty Shooty. But, man, we gotta touch on the eagle, the elephant, the eagle in the room.
Man, whatever.
Come on, man.
Come on, man. Whatever.
Corn Pop was a bad dude.
Corn Pop was a bad dude. You know what Corn Pop was, honestly? A good reason for the Second Amendment. If Joe's description is to be believed at all, Corn Pop is a Second Amendment justification, just walking around and exclaiming to the world, y'all should carry a gun because I've got a rusty knife.
They used to dip their knives in rain barrels, and he had a rusty length of chain, and
Corn Pop was a bad dude, and he ran a bunch of bad dudes. Oh, all right.
Yeah. Nothing. Okay, so the press conference yesterday. Man, did you listen to the whole thing?
Real quick, something's happening in the chat. Anarchy says hello to Alex, and Krista says, "Hey, Alex, night night." But I don't see Alex. I don't actually see anything from Alex in the chat. I wonder if he made a comment on the live stream before we actually started picking up the chat.
Gotcha.
But
so
before, yeah, it does. That's what happened. He said, "Yo, fellas, just dropping in to say hello before bed. Peace, deuces." And then Anarchy said, bye, Alex. So cool.
Yeah, peace and deuces.
Night, Alex.
Yeah, but the press conference, man, I made it to the end, and oh, good Lord, that's those are IQ points I can't have back.
Yeah, I did not make it to the end of the press conference. I have caught a couple of news clips and a couple of commentary clips on it since then, but I know Joe's garbage, so. Krista says Joe barely made it to the end. That's what I heard.
Yeah. And the way that it ended was very abrupt. Like suddenly, like there was a code word or something. I said, "Listen, Joe, listen. If you hear this code word,
Joe, pineapples.
Joe, if you hear this code word and/or shit your depends, just walk off the stage." And it's almost like that's what happened. But my absolute favorite moment from it, because it was just so cringy, was when he was trying to make the point that the voter ID laws that states like our state are trying to pass are so onerous that they are Jim Eagle in comparison to Jim Crow laws. And it's probably one of the most lucid things he said in the entire press conference. And it was so cringy. He got asked a question about gun control and literally spent like 5 or 6 minutes talking about infrastructure. Like no, it's, all jokes aside, it makes me really sad because none of his friends and none of his family care about him enough to stop him from making himself look like an idiot.
And we just spent 4 years listening to the press talk about Donald Trump being mentally unfit to serve. Guys, if I know who I'm talking to. I know none of you is surprised by this or questioning the validity of the assertion, but if you happen to have stumbled on this and you still don't understand that Biden is absolutely 100% in the early stages, at a minimum, of severe dementia, you just haven't been paying attention. And to be clear, I did say the early stages of dementia at a minimum, not as, and I don't know why they kept saying this, people kept saying that he appeared to be into early onset dementia. No. Early onset dementia is like, that's before you're 70.
Which he was not when these symptoms started to show up. Once you're 75 and you start to slip a few mental gears, that's just dementia. It's no longer early. And
just to put some of these numbers in perspective, Joe Biden was still the vice president when he turned 70.
Yes. So, anyhow,
real quick, Anarchy says the Constitution is not there to protect us. It is up to us to protect it. I almost agree with you entirely on that. I think the more correct way to phrase that is the Constitution. The government is a monster. The government generally is a great evil. It is a great evil which will always occur, right? An actual anarchist state is impossible. A government will form, even if that government is as simple as there's one strong man with a few strong lieutenants who rule by absolute force. Some form of government will occur, and all forms of government are inherently evil. Because there is no such thing as a governing body which is not to some degree oppressive of those it governs. That said, given the consent of the governed, who have organized the principles by which the governance is achieved, the Constitution is the chain that we keep that government on. Because if the government is going to be a great evil, a dangerous monster, then it is incumbent upon us as responsible pet owners to control that attack dog and make certain that it does what we expect it to do when we expect it to do it. The problem with our current government is it is not sufficiently disciplined. The Constitution is the writ of discipline which is supposed to determine the activities of the government. So it is absolutely incumbent upon us. You are right about this, absolutely, Anarchy, that it is incumbent upon us to defend the Constitution, at least the first 10 amendments. I agree with you on that as well. Like I mentioned yesterday, like I teased yesterday, I'm working on a video essay that will make the claim that every amendment after the 10th was a mistake. And the essay will be a little bit softer on the opinion than that exact statement. Most of the amendments, I will say, had at least an attractive veneer. But when you dig down into them, the execution was sloppy and in many cases deleterious. Now,
just to put a button on it, I'm hashtag Jim Eagle everything for the next several days because that's just too fucking funny, man.
Yeah, buddy. Indeed. So, Anarchy also says, I expect our military and our police force to honor their oath and arrest these traitors and convict them to the maximum punishment. Well, Anarchy.
One can dream.
Yeah, I wouldn't hold my breath. I will say this, however, this might be at least somewhat comforting. My experience with soldiers as a soldier when I was active duty, I think a large swath of our military is prepared to ignore significant unlawful orders. Now, that's a tricky issue because usually the order is not, hey, here's a broad explanation of my political motivations and the end goal objective. No, usually the order is, hey, hold this position. Hold this position at all costs. Right? If the order is something like that, hold this position at all costs, that's absolutely a lawful order. But where that position is makes a huge amount of contextual difference. And I don't mean this to denigrate or down talk any of my brothers in arms, my brothers in uniform, but let's be real, they are citizens, and they are citizens of this country, and by a wide margin, it's unfortunately true that the citizenry of this country is not well informed on current events and politics. What they have is basically the CNN narrative. And you want to talk about a myopic view of world events. Just damn. All right. We're 12 minutes in, and we still need to score something. Let's do this, brother. You ready?
Rudy tooty shooty shooty.
Shooty shooty, baby, shooty shooty. Update. Suspect shot by Granger homeowner following police chase. This comes from us from Granger, Indiana. Lindsay's not with us this morning, unfortunately. A police chase that started in Goshen ends with the driver shot by a homeowner in Granger. Investigators say the driver ditched his car in the area of Bittersweet and Cleveland and took off on foot into the 11,000 block of Anderson Road. Sometime after, police say a homeowner found the suspect in an outbuilding and fired one shot. That is when, a short time later, St. Joseph County Police arrived on scene. The suspect was shot once and taken to a local hospital and is expected to recover, according to investigators. Officers at the incident scene did not discharge their weapons. Due to the involvement of the multi-agency pursuit and injury in this individual, per protocol, St. Joseph County Metro Homicide Unit was activated and is currently handling the investigation.
Wait,
okay, so I guess that goes to a BRM?
Yeah, we might need another category because, you shoot somebody, you get them center mass. Like, they get lucky. They get the best surgeon in that part of Indiana, and the surgeon saves their life. There's nothing wrong with your basic rifle marksmanship. Just have really good doctors.
Yeah.
And Crowder was talking about this a few days ago, where it's not shoot to kill or shoot to wound. It's actually shoot to stop.
Yes.
And if the target collapses after one shot, well, I mean, looks like you win.
Yeah. And while I generally agree, to be clear, a live threat is a threat.
Right.
Especially if that threat has a weapon, a firearm, for example. And we can, the same, I saw the episode of Crowder that you're talking about. They showed a clip that we've actually showed on this show and talked about before. It's absolutely gut-shaking, heart-wrenching clip. This guy with a big old butcher knife is in an open field, and he's surrounded by police officers, and there's one female police officer that he's approaching with the knife, and everybody's shouting, "Drop the knife, drop the knife," and he just keeps walking toward her. She fires her taser and hits the guy with that and starts dumping voltage into him, and he just keeps walking at her. The first shot is fired and hits the guy before he stabs her. He walks up and grabs her by the shoulder and then takes that big old butcher knife and just starts stabbing her in the gut. Just starts stabbing her over and over and over again while being shot repeatedly. He must get shot a dozen times after having been tasered before he finally falls to the ground. And I mean, it's pretty clear from the footage that he did not fall to the ground and stop stabbing the officer until he was dead. So shoot to stop. I'm actually for that because because what you're talking about there is a combination of your effective marksmanship, taking that center mass target, and a weapon with sufficient stopping power to be effective, preferably in one shot. But stopped is not guaranteed sufficient. Waller just copied and pasted a comment from that he made on Facebook yesterday, I think. By calling for gun control, they are advocating the mass indiscriminate punishment of all Americans for the actions of a select handful of people. That is absolutely correct. Like, the army was swept by an argument against mass punishment while I was in, because there's a habit in the army. There's a part of the training and doctrine, especially in basic combat training. If one soldier screws something up, everybody does push-ups, right? Mass punishment. The whole unit does push-ups together. And there's a lot of psychology there. You know, part of it is you're building camaraderie among the troops. You're making them hate the drill sergeant together so that the unit coheses around the common animosity of a single target, even though in the case in basic, the target is your leadership. It's very intentional in that psychological way. Another part of it is that when you punish the whole like that in that situation, you incentivize the unit to try and police up their own before the individual members of the unit commit an error which causes harm to the whole unit. Now, when you're talking about in a training environment and everybody ends up doing push-ups, that's all fun and games. It's cute and it's good for building that camaraderie and all of the other stuff that I just described. But when you're talking about a unit that's been through all of the getting you ready training, and the things that they're training for now are missions, then that one weak link screwing up on the battlefield doesn't get everybody down in the front line and rest. He gets everybody down in the 6 feet under. So policing up and taking care of yourselves, take care of one another, and making sure that the unit itself is strong and that the links in the chain are all as strong as possible is super important. Now, that said, the whole anti-bullying campaign, because it was taken way too far, changed the actual dynamics in that group, making it more difficult for the group to enforce those standards and expectations amidst their own members. Fast forward that and compare it to the idea that Waller's talking about, where you're talking about the indiscriminate punishment of all Americans for the actions of a select handful of people. If I and all of us are to be punished for the crimes of a few, but I am prevented by law from trying to police up those few, meaning I'm not allowed to reach out to my fellow man and unfuck him, then what benefit can you possibly achieve from that mass punishment? So I say no. The American people should not be in the front-leaning rest. It's well stated there, Waller. So, did you have something else before we move on to the next one?
I just wanted to bring it back around. I still feel like there might need to be an additional category, because, and it'd be helpful if we knew more details too, because, I mean, nobody's ever going to say one-shot center mass is bad marksmanship.
Correct.
And and when that one psychopath was shooting up the church in Texas, and that absolute Billy Badass took him out with a single headshot, well, I mean, granted, that was a DRT, but it was still a single shot, and it was shoot to stop.
Yeah, and that guy's done a couple of interviews. He was on Crowder, talking about Steven again. He was on Crowder and he did the interview and he talked about it. The guy's an NRA instructor, right? And an avid shooter. He's a good shot, and he talked about it. He said he basically, I don't remember exactly how I phrased it, but he would have preferred to aim for center mass because that's the correct move. But because of the activity in the church and people's heads being up and down, he aimed a little higher, and that's why it ended up being a headshot. He basically, taking the center mass shot increased the risk that somebody ended up in front of the bullet before it hit him. So that's not just good marksmanship. That's good situational awareness. That's good instantaneous discipline.
Yeah, like talk about right action at cuss.
Exactly. Like Waller, for example. Waller, you and I both remember doing target discrimination exercises where you have the black silhouette on a pop-up target. You may have a half dozen of them out there, but on the black silhouette, when it pops up, there's like a yellow triangle, a red circle, and a blue square. And so when it pops up, you don't just shoot at the target. It pops up, and then you wait for the instructor or the range command to shout a color and a shape. And so if he says red triangle and there's a red triangle, then you shoot the red triangle twice. If he says blue triangle and you have a red triangle and a blue square, then you put one round in the red thing and one round in the square thing. Right? And that's precisely for that kind of work. It's so that target discrimination. Hey, I've got a crowd of civilians and one bad guy with a gun, and if I don't make this shot, people will die. And when you're talking about a situation like that, guys, it's an easy numbers game. I don't even have to ask the question about whether or not this evil person deserves to continue to live. All I have to ask is the question, if this one evil man continues to live, how many good men will die as a result right now? Not potentially, not hypothetically in the future, now. Right? You got the Boulder shooting from earlier this week. Guess what the Boulder shooting didn't have?
A good guy returning fire.
A good guy returning fire. And why, Cameron? Why is that?
They always pick gun-free zones. I mean, that's the point.
And in the case of Boulder, you're talking about a deep blue city that's effectively a gun-free city.
Oh, well, there was at least one gun in Boulder that day.
Yep. But, I mean, Boulder just passed a bunch of heavy-duty gun laws. Just a few weeks ago, I think it was. And that was on top of already restrictive gun laws. Mass shootings don't happen where other people have guns.
Yeah, that has a tendency to be true.
Apparently we're boring this morning because we're down. We've lost half our viewership since we started. Bitches.
Whoops.
Love the rest of you guys. Thanks for hanging out. You're solid. Let's move on to the next story. Because, damn, if we didn't just spend 10 minutes on that one. Krista says, yeah, Boulder's definitely a prime example of how criminals don't follow laws, so gun control is stupid. Yep.
Krista might have just won the chat.
You know what? I think we're only going to do one more, and then I'm going to tell a story because I'm looking at this woman, this female sheriff's deputy here, on this article, and this story comes from Harris County, Texas. So I think I'm going to read this one. I'm going to tell y'all a story about a little incident that I got involved in when I was stationed in Texas. Waller will especially get a chuckle out of this. Deputy shoots trucking store owner in confusion over robbery. Oh dear. That doesn't sound like it's off to a good start at all. I didn't give the last one a score because I don't know. Oh, Anarchy, I am not going to answer that question online, but I have a good answer for you. The owner of a trucking company. Hey, by the way, Anarchy, I still want you to send me an email send it to theshow@brushfiremind.com, and let's link up and see if we can't help each other out on some spreading the message work. So the owner of a trucking equipment store was shot by a police officer near Houston on Monday after the two exchanged fire in confusion over a robbery. The incident.
Oh no.
Yeah, I don't think we're going the right way with this story. The incident occurred at around 11:45 p.m. on March 23rd in Harris County, Texas. According to ABC 13 News, the 72-year-old unnamed store owner called police to report a burglary after witnessing the theft via video feed at his home. The owner then headed to his business, unaware that a police officer had already arrived on scene. When the store owner arrived at his business and noticed the officer, he mistook him for the robber and began shooting at him. The officer then returned fire and struck the owner in the shoulder. Yeah, he was walking towards me, he started firing, and I haven't even checked the business, the deputy responded via radio during the shooting. Oh dear. Okay, so,
Whoops.
right off the top, deputy shoots trucking store owner in confusion over robbery. I'm gonna have to say this sounds like it was the owner's fault.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree. It's unfortunate, but there's actually so few stories like this. Like we do this every Friday, and the vast majority of the time, it's an absolutely, utterly clean shoot. And frankly, from the perspective of the officer, this is a clean shoot. An unidentified person starts firing at you.
Absolutely.
Like
I mean, it's unfortunate, but you're right. That is a clean shoot. I don't care what the circumstances are. If somebody opens fire at me, I would rather be alive than right. So I will return fire.
Yeah. That there's a thing in mental health about sometimes you need to decide if you want to be right or you want to be happy, because being right can cost you.
Yeah, I'd rather be wrong than dead. I'll take wrong over dead every time.
Judged by 12 as opposed to carried by 6.
Yeah. I guess we give this one a BRM.
Yeah, but for the store owner, not for the cop.
Right. Oh, hell, the cop apparently shot what she was shooting at.
Yeah, when you get the drop on somebody and their return fire hits you, that's definitely BRM. Definitely.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna tell y'all a funny story, and then we're wrapping up for the day. When I was in Texas, Waller, you know what was going on. I was at Goodfellow, and I don't know if you remember the little Russian drill sergeant with the giant eyebrows, but he was my drill while I was there. So on the weekends, me and some buddies, we would go, on a Friday night or Saturday night, we'd go and hang out and, go see a movie, go whatever. And then usually we would end up, by midnight, we would end up in the IHOP because it was open all night and there's smoking section in the back. And we'd, spend sometimes 4 or 5 hours playing Magic and drinking coffee and smoking cigarettes and eating way too many disgusting little fat pills. But so we're there one night, and there's a lot of bars nearby, and of course when last call goes and everybody leaves the bars, you end up with a huge rush at the IHOP, and it's predictable. It happens at the same time every Friday and Saturday night. And they had this off-duty cop that worked at the IHOP for security. Well, her name was Kathy, I think. Yeah, it was Kathy. And Kathy was probably in her mid-50s, late 40s at the youngest. I'm pretty sure she was mid-50s. And I don't mean to be mean to her, but she was a little overweight. So you got an older, overweight female police officer as your off-duty security guard, and she worked that shift every Friday and Saturday night, all night. And we had been there long enough and had the habit long enough that all the waitresses knew us, we knew them, and so this one night we're sitting there playing cards, and we each had a backpack with our cards in it, and we're sitting there playing a game of cards, and there were 4 or 5 of us at the time. Me and Mario and Dunks and another little dude. Waller says, yeah, she didn't have it going on. So you remember Kathy at the IHOP. I thought you might. So one night we're sitting there playing cards, and one of the waitresses comes running in, and she hollers at me because I'm the largest of the 4 at the table, and the least nerdy. Sorry, Mario. And she comes in and says, guys, Kathy's in trouble. She needs help. And so it was the military precision with which we responded to this still gives my heart a warm feeling. I popped up immediately and went to Kathy's aid. Mario popped up immediately, ran behind me, and Dunks behind him, and the two of them started blocking around us as a crowd was gathering as the whole incident was unfolding. So the two of them popped up around behind me to kind of keep everybody out and work crowd control, while Amoroso, the 4th in our crew, just gathered up all of our belongings, packed everything up, and pulled security on our gear. Right, it was all very boom, boom, boom. Everybody knew exactly where they were supposed to be. I get out front, and Kathy is tangled up with this dude, and he was a pretty fit, healthy looking, probably 26, 27-year-old African American, and he's screaming all kinds of curse words and just. You're a pig, you're this, you're that. Called me the N-word when we got over there. So he's basically actively fighting with her, and she's trying to get her taser off her belt, and he slaps her in the face, and I grabbed him and wrapped him up in a rear naked choke and pushed him up against the wall, and I said, brother, I'm doing you a favor. Son, listen to me. I'm trying to help you out. You're a black man fighting a white female cop in East Texas. You're a drunk black man who is assaulting a white female cop in East Texas. I may be saving your life. And he screams,
quick question. His name wasn't Rayshard Brooks, was it?
No, it wasn't, but that would have been amusing. And he screams, let go of me, you N-word, at me. And I said, well, I tried, and then I just, you pet the kitty and you close the cap. I choked him out. He went limp, fell unconscious in my arms, and Kathy put the handcuffs on him, and I threw him in the back of her car, and she booked him. Well, before we closed the door on him, throwing him in the back of the car, we got his wallet out to check his ID. Yeah, it turns out he was a tech sergeant in the Air Force's military police unit at the base nearby. So
Whoops.
That was probably the end of his career. Yeah, that was 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And Waller, you said, oh yeah, I hope you meant that you remember Drill Sergeant, I don't remember his name, and I wouldn't say it here in this context anyway, but the little Russian drill sergeant with the giant eyebrows, I think is sufficient for Waller to know who I was talking about. So he was my drill sergeant. And of course, if shit goes bad, especially if it includes involvement with the police, you're supposed to report that anytime, day or night. So I called the CQ, the control of quarters desk, and they said, we're going to transfer you to the drill sergeant. Well, they transferred me to his home number at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. So, yeah, the phone rang, woke him up, so that Specialist Lowry could say, yeah, Drill Sergeant, I may have gotten involved with some police. Jesus Christ, Lowry, what happened? Well, there was this drunk dude beating up on this poor little white chick cop, and I choked him out and put her in his car, put him in her car. And he said, what the fuck, Lowry? I'm going back to bed. I'll see you Monday morning. And sure enough, Monday morning, he shows up with the police blotter and reads the story to the formation. All right, guys, let me tell you why Specialist Lowry woke me up at 3 o'clock Sunday morning or whatever it was. I don't remember if it was Friday or Saturday. We'll just go with Saturday from now on. So I woke him up at 3 o'clock Sunday morning for the purposes of the story. And so, yeah, that was one of many times that the events of Lowry's weekend were the headline of the morning formation on Monday. But man, I mean, let me ask you a question. If a 300-pound man has his arm around your 150-pound self's neck, is F-U N-word really the first place you want to go with that?
That's not the first place I want to go with it, but
yeah, that's so you're a non-commissioned officer, an E6 in the Air Force's military police unit at a secure base, and you got drunk and sexually assaulted a few women in an IHOP, which got the police involved, and then you decided to, while you were inebriated, assault a female cop in full view of the public and had to be physically subdued by another military service member. And by the way, you were physically subdued by another person. Yeah, you're not fit to the task, and you're not morally competent to the position. Oh, and by the way, there goes your security clearance, which you did have to be here. Yeah, you're done. That's the end of your career. Waller says, I mean, I'd already be fucked, so yeah, I'm rolling those dice. Oh, Waller, I miss hanging out with some of you guys. I really do. Anyway, and by the way, Waller, I did send you an email last night. So I'll talk to you soon. I think that's the show for today. So it's Friday, going into the weekend. Y'all be safe out there. Don't drive drunk. Don't fry bacon naked. Sex, drugs, rock and roll, police brutality, firearms, videotape, and farm animals. No two at the same time, baby. Y'all be safe, and we'll see you Monday. It is Friday, right?
I'm pretty sure.
Yes. Take care, guys.